These are 7 investing concepts that'll make you money, starting with number 1. Lifetime gross profit compared to cost to acquire a customer, which basically means how much money you make in profit from every person who comes into a business compared to how much it costs to get them to buy to begin with. This is the fundamental economic unit of the business. You buy attention, you buy eyeballs to get customers, and then you sell those eyeballs something that you're gonna make a profit from. All the profit that gets generated from the business comes from this one ratio. And so if someone has, for example, a 1-to-1 ratio of LTV to CAC, they spend $1 and they make $1 back, and so that's it. You know, let's say a 20-to-1. That means for every $1 they put in, they get 20 back as profit. This becomes a business that you can scale endlessly and becomes an incredibly attractive business. Getting really clear on what your LTV to CAC ratio is core to growing anything. So let's define these terms. Lifetime gross profit has a couple of components. There's lifetime, and then there's the gross profit component. So lifetime is like, okay, well, how many times is someone going to pay me? Within a products business, how many times does someone buy on average over the lifespan? Shopify stores, things like that will actually just give you this metric, which is like the average customer buys 4.3 times. If you have a services business or a membership-based business, then it might be the average lifespan. So how many months are they gonna stick with you? Now, if you don't know this, because you might be a smaller business that doesn't have a CRM that reports on this kind of stuff, I'll give you the back of napkin way to actually calculate this. How many customers did I have at the beginning of the month? Now, of these people that I had at the beginning, 30 days later, what's the number of those people that I have at the end? Not the number of customers in total, because you might sell people in between, but I wanna know of the people at the beginning of the month, how many of them are still there 30 days later? So if I had 100 people here at the beginning and I had 90 people at the end, then I would have 10% churn. And you're like, okay, wait, is that the number? No. What we then do is we take 1 and we divide it by this number, which then means that our average lifespan in this example would be 10 months or 10 intervals, whatever interval you're measuring on. Because if I did this quarterly, it would be the same thing, or annually, it'd be the same thing. Number of people at the beginning, 100, number of people at the end, 90, I lost 10, meaning I have a 10% churn. 1 divided by 10% equals 10. So the average number of months that someone stays is 10 months. Everything that I'm gonna show you today is stuff that you can do: addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. There's nothing else. You don't have to be a genius to learn how to invest or build a business. So now that we just covered lifetime, now we need to figure out gross profit, which is how much extra cash do we have left over from each customer after we do a transaction. The simplest example I can give you is, if this costs me $1 and I sell it for $2, then I have $1 of gross profit. Now, I still have to take that $1 and pay other costs. I have to pay rent, I have to pay other fees that go along, and then my margin is now squeezing from that 50% that was left over until what my net margin becomes at the end of the day. With widgets or physical products, it's really that simple. It's just price minus cost of goods sold. And so cost of goods sold are gonna be all the costs that you have to incur specifically related to delivering the product. All you're trying to figure out is at the basic transaction, how much money you have left over. Now, with physical products, it's typically much simpler than with service-based businesses. But I'm gonna give you a service-based example so you can still understand it, because you need to. If I sell customers for $1,000 a month, and I have an employee who costs me $4,000 per month, and each employee can handle 10 customers. That means each employee handles $10,000 per month for 10 customers. So now all we have to do is say, what is our gross margin? We're gonna take the $10,000, we're gonna subtract $4,000 from it, and that gives us $6,000 per month gross profit, which you'll sometimes hear expressed as a percentage, which would be 60% gross margins. Both of these are the same thing. One is an absolute number, the other percentage. You seeing how $4,000 is my cost? This is how much I make. Subtract the 2, that gives you the margin, and that gives you the percentage. Now remember, we figured out what our lifetime was, and we figured out how much we make per customer, or how many months they stayed in that instance. Now, we combine those two metrics to get the 1 lifetime gross profit. Earlier, we did the 10% churn example, and so let's say that these customers stay on average for 10 months. Because this is for 10 customers, we can divide this by 10, which gets us $600 per month per customer. So I just divided the $6,000 by the 10 customers to get my, how much do I make per customer per month? So that's $600 per month per customer in gross profit. Now, we said earlier that they're staying for 10 months, which means that my lifetime gross profit per customer is $6,000 of LTGP. So now I know that customers are worth $6,000. So this is important because now this is all the money I have to go spend to acquire them and run the rest of the business. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes that business owners make, because what they do is they look at their lifetime revenue per customer and say, oh, as long as it costs me less than that in advertising, I'm making money. But I'll give you an extreme example to point out why that doesn't work. Let's say I sell these for $10, this pen for $10, but it costs me $9, and the average person buys 10 pens. So it's $100 in revenue, but it costs me $90 to sell the 100. But if my team comes to me and says, dude, we're killing it. We're spending $50 to get a $100 sale. We should do this all day. But what's really happening? I'm actually spending $50 to make $10 in gross profit lifetime. Not a good equation. And so you don't want revenue to confuse you. And this is like one of the biggest misunderstandings that I see business owners make, which is why sometimes, because they don't know this, they don't know why they can't grow. The reason lifetime value and lifetime gross profit get conflated or confused is because many of the most formal businesses that are out there come from Silicon Valley, which almost exclusively is tech and software. And the gross profits on software are almost always close to 100%. The two conflate. But for everyday business owners who have people, we have manufacturing, we have inventory, we have to pay for stuff to happen, that isn't 100%. And so we're not doing it off revenue. We have to calculate what our gross profit is, because that's what we run our business off of. So far, we got our $6,000 lifetime gross profit. Cool, so we've got one part of this equation. This video is incredibly in-depth and tactical because I break down every concept to its absolute base units. So my recommendation to get the most out of this is to watch all of the concepts, understand them so you see how they all work together to ultimately help you invest better, and then come back through and then do each of the concepts individually so that you can apply them. So now we're going to talk about how much it costs to acquire a customer. This is another one that people mess up. So what a lot of people do is they just look at how much it costs them to advertise to figure out how much it costs them to get a customer. That's partially true, but not completely, for two reasons. The advertising budget, if you're running paid ads, for example, is only one of the many costs that go into acquiring a customer. The other issue is that you're not including the labor. So let's say that we have 5 employees that cost in total $50,000 a month. That's the labor. And then let's say we're spending $50,000 a month in software and advertising like Facebook ads or Instagram ads. That means that our total cost as a company is $100,000 per month for all the customers that we acquired that month. And so then all we do is you look back and say, okay, how many did we acquire over the last 30 days? Let's say this $100,000 bought us 83 customers. So our cost to acquire a customer would be 100,000 divided by 83. Survey says $1,204. So this divided by that equals $1,204 cost to acquire a customer. Let's look at our math. If we have cost us $1,204 to acquire a customer, and that customer makes us $6,000 in lifetime gross profit, we're killing it. So that means that we have a 5-to-1 LTGP to CAC ratio. And if you're like, is that good or is that bad? 5-to-1 is great. You want to make sure that you're always at least greater than 3-to-1. Meaning your lifetime gross profit compared to how much it costs you to make that money is at least 3 times greater. Otherwise, you'll be too constrained to scale. If this is bad, I don't need to look at anything else. I can just automatically toss the business out. And if this is exceptional, I might be willing to overlook or forgive some other metrics that are coming down the line that aren't as strong. But if you don't know these numbers in a business that you're buying or investing or a business that you own, find them out. So I told you earlier that I was gonna give you 7. Well, it turns out that that was 3 of them, because the ratio is 1, gross profit is another, and CAC is another. So we covered 3. We're already almost halfway there. So number 4 is return on invested capital, all right? What we're looking at is how much money does it cost us to expand the business? There are some businesses, like an accounting